Here's a question. Would music history be the same if we never saw it? Would Britney Spears blown up without that schoolgirl outfit? Would Limp Bizkit have hit the same without Fred Durst's red hat and Wes Borland's black contacts? Why do we see kids at every mall wearing Nirvana shirts and we very well know they can't name more than one song? Music alone is powerful, but maybe it's the photos, the visuals, the fashion that makes it memorable. And I've been obsessed with that idea since I was a kid. My name's Alex Majewski, and in this video, I'm gonna be talking about music versus visuals. We're in a modern day, we're on TikTok and Instagram, 70 to 80% of people are watching these videos muted. So it begs the question, if you take away the visuals, will the music from throughout history hold up? And that's what we're gonna be talking about in this video. Robert Johnson changed music forever, but there's only about 1 or 2 photos of him that even exist. Same with the early jazz and blues. The sound carried the weight. But by the 60s, that all started to change. The Beatles weren't just a band, they were a look, a movie, a vibe. The Beatles movies A Hard Day's Night and Help prove that visuals could amplify the music. Beatlemania wasn't just heard, it was seen. Following the Beatles in the 70s, we had bands like David Bowie, Alice Cooper, and Kiss. These bands were glam, horror, performative, and Kiss did it best. Not only was their music not that good, but they had the most merchandising. They even had a cartoon that would play in the mornings. They're not that good. But low-key, I'd be lying if I didn't like Detroit Rock City. That movie's a bop, and Beth, I hear you calling. Fast forward to 1981, MTV launches. Suddenly, visuals aren't optional anymore. They're the battlefield. Michael Jackson's Thriller is a great song, but without that 14-minute movie to go along with it, I don't think it would have been a cultural earthquake like it was. Madonna and the controversy of her song Like a Virgin. Prince, purple coats, eyeliner, and gender-bending fashion. He was androgynous, and let's not forget his movie Purple Rain, and dipping his body in Lang Tonka Monka Wonka Flonka. Let me know in the comments if I said that wrong. These artists weren't just writing songs, they were directing their own identity. I remember when I was a kid and my mom insisted when we were at Walmart that I got Purple Rain, I saw it. She wanted me to see the scene with Lang Tonka Wonka Monka Lonka. It was just so iconic, getting to see the relationship with him and his father, his relationship with music, and how he had to overcome all of these things. And obviously he's talented, but having such a disposition in the time period that he's in, that he had kind of a feminine nature, super important that you saw a piece into his life, a glimpse into his life, and Purple Rain really helped with that, as did the visuals and the movies. He has influenced so many people from the 1975 to myself, and one of my favorite artists, which is Lenny Kravitz. Punk stripped it down, but it's the visuals that still mattered. The Ramones had their leather jackets and ripped jeans. Blondie's Debbie Harry was punk and glam at the same time. The Clash gave us one of rock's most famous photos, Paul Simonon smashing his bass on London Calling. The Clash was rebellion, and the visuals showed us how to join in. Let me know in the comments who you were influenced by growing up from the visuals, from photos, from music videos. Metal and shock rock doubled down. Following the footsteps of Alice Cooper and Kiss, we had bands like Judas Priest. They gave us the leather and studs uniform, BDSM influence. Sharon! Ozzy Osbourne became legend the night he bit the head off the bat. Artists like Marilyn Manson were so controversial, but at the end of the day, their music sounded more like pop music. It was like industrial pop. It wasn't actually as heavy as his image, is the message he was trying to put out there. If it wasn't for these visuals, I don't think he would have really been able to make the noise in the media, in the press, to every parent, especially Christian ones, in the way that he did. And although he's had some controversy later in life that I maybe can't get behind, he is iconic and he has really influenced so many bands, including ones you would see touring the world right now, like Motionless in White and a handful of other ones. Yeah, Magenta Generation. This is the time period that I was running home from school every day. Carson Daly was on MTV. Headbangers Ball was on. We had Beavis and Butthead, buddy. We had the Bum Song. We had fucking everything. It's dope. I'm so influenced by it. Some of my favorite stuff is from this time period, and let's talk about it. And let me know in the comments what your favorite part of this is. It's made me who I am today. This is where it gets personal. I grew up in the late 90s and Y2K era. And for me, music and visuals were inseparable. Limp Bizkit's Nookie wasn't just a heavy riff, it was my favorite song. And in 1998-99, I had that red hat Yankee. I couldn't get the one with the black Yankee symbol. It was like silver. My dad picked it up for me. And that song and that record, Significant Other, literally took over my entire world. Same thing with like Kid Rock, but I know a lot of people who don't fuck with him. Dope song, super catchy. I did it all for the Nookie. Come on, the Nookie. But like all that shit, that branding, that vibe is what changed the fucking world. Hundreds of people dressed like him in all the videos, and we saw the same thing in Eminem videos as well. Britney Spears' song, Hit Me Baby One More Time, is iconic. But let's talk about that music video. She's 16, schoolgirl outfit, claiming to be a virgin, but singing that song. Let me know in the comments what you think of that, and how would this hold up today? Later, the snake in her "I'm a Slave for You" performance burned into everyone's retinas. Eminem's bleached blonde hair was as sharp as his lyrics. And how did he foreshadow every person in the suburbs having problems with their mother? Maybe that was because in the 80s there was a crack epidemic, and by the time it caught up to the late 90s, everyone were drug addicts. But I don't know, so was my mother. And being a white rapper was as much as a shock as the words he was saying in his music. At the time, I remember being so drawn to his music, as so many other people were from across the whole world. I imagine a lot of people from the suburbs are as well, as he's like one of the biggest first white rappers who's actually respected in hip hop. Come to find out that years later, the things he was talking about in his music heavily reflected my life. And I just think that's crazy, and I'm sure the story isn't just with me. Blink-182's What's My Age Again video had these dudes running naked in the street, and it turned MTV into pop punk comedy overnight. It wasn't just Ashton Kutcher doing it, it was Blink-182. Because it punked. Take Nirvana. Their smiley face logo, yellow and black, is worn by millions who couldn't tell the difference between Lithium and In Bloom. Same with the Sex Pistols. The God Save the Queen shirt, ripped Union Jack, and safety pins is a punk uniform worldwide, but ask people to name more than one Pistols song, and most can't. Even Metallica, arguably one of the biggest bands ever, has their logo plastered across mall t-shirts, Walmart, Target. Half the kids wearing it might never have even sat through Master of Puppets. So I had my grandma do a TikTok.
Grandma, what's your favorite metal band? Fucking Metallica, bro.
The crazy thing is that shit went viral as fuck. My grandma literally didn't even know who Metallica was until after that shit popped off. That was on the original J Sky production TikTok, the one that has since been hacked. I manage a couple other TikTok accounts for clips like these and some dating shows that I've made and stuff like that. TikTok, or anyone out there who has some connect, help me get back into that account, because they fucking like archived or deleted all my shit, and it's like some spammy shit up there. Metallica literally commented on it and they said grandma rocks. Crazy, right? So here's the question: if the visuals outweigh the music, then what's the real legacy? The songs or the image? Let me know in the comments what you think. And this isn't just nostalgia, it's happening now. On TikTok and Instagram, most videos are watched with the sound off. Studies show that 70 to 80% of views have been muted. People are reading captions or just scanning the videos, which means today an artist's look, meme, or vibe might matter more than the actual music itself. So if people are seeing the aesthetic first and hearing the music second, does that officially mean that the visual has become the main event? The Beatles had mop tops, Michael Jackson had Thriller, and I mean the video. Limp Bizkit had a red hat, and Britney Spears had a schoolgirl uniform. Even though having a red hat means something a little different today, real talk, in 1999, Fred Durst was seen as a misogynistic dick. Super smart guy, and I do think he had a method to his madness, in the same way that Machine Gun Kelly understands you have to be super controversial, continuously stay in the limelight to be on top. Fred Durst, he founded bands like Stand and Puddle of Mud, and he's directed and done a bunch of things in horror films. Super talented, impressive guy, managed to still be on tour and do crazy shit right now in today's modern day, which he's influencing a ton. You'll see the same thing with Machine Gun Kelly, Eminem, Taylor Swift, the list goes on and on. Let me know some additional ones in the comments of people who have kind of followed suit in just staying in the limelight, pissing people the fuck off. Nirvana had the smiley logo. For me, the visuals are the glue. The eyeliner, the clothing, the chaos. It's burned into my memory just as much as the sound. But what about you? Could you separate the music from the visuals? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. Once again, my name is Alex Majewski, also known as J Sky. I appreciate everyone for tuning into the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace.